Hey guys, Kevpert here. Today we'll be doing an ultimate defense tutorial where I've done a 2019 remaster of my old Rocket League trainer packs. I've got 150 shots of back wall defense, wall power clears, and turning clears to throw at you, all with variation using Bakkesmod. This training will get you closer to pro level defensive mechanics. So, let's get started. First things first, we'll be using Bakkesmod, which is a training plugin for PC. If you've watched my long and arrow shots tutorial, you should be pretty familiar with this. So as a quick recap, you can download it from Bakkesmod.com. Now if you're on console, you can still use my codes, you just won't get the full benefits of the game-like training. Now we're going to set up the custom training variance parameters. So once you have the game running, Bakkesmod hooked in, open up the console by hitting F2 and go to bindings. We're just going to map this to F5 with the code in the description. So just hit add. Press F5, click on the first blank row, drop the code in. This one should say limit boost to 40 on the last row. We can just open that up, you'll see it split out in several lines. Now that's the training settings for back wall defense and turning clears. Next, we're going to set up the wall power clear settings, which we're going to map to F11. So again, let's grab the second set of training settings in the description, copy, hit add, map to F11, click on the first blank line, and drop that code in. Now this time, notice how the boost is at 85 and the starting momentum, the first row, is a little higher. So just hit save, and we're going to close the console. We're going to hit F5 on the keyboard, and you'll see that it changes to 40 boost, so now we know the code worked. Now while we're here, just make sure you click enable automatic mirroring and enable custom training variants if you haven't done so already. Now if you want to use these settings for other packs where you need 100 boost, just manually change that. Alright, so let's cover back wall defense first. Now there's two common ways of defending the back wall from the ground. The first is like Turbo Pulsar here, where you're jumping from the net to cover the rebound. The second is like Speed on the bricks. He's coming in on the late rotation, marking the opponent, and he denies a for sure goal on the rebound. Now we can take a look at myself, and yeah, it's something I need to work on. I'm coming in on the late rotation, and yeah, I could have saved the goal had I practiced my back wall defense pack. Don't make my mistake. So, just like last time, I'm going to do a playthrough of all 50 shots, just to give you guys some context on how to approach some of these. Now, if you want to follow along, just make sure you've unchecked Shuffle Playlist in the Custom Training tab in the Bakkesmod console. I've also tracked my success rate in a spreadsheet, so if you want to measure yourself up against myself, that Google Sheets is in the description. On this one, I actually got 74% of the shots saved on my first attempt. Okay, so pretty meat and drink. A lot of these are the late rotation type saves. You're gonna have to use some air roll there. Try to maintain your flip as long as you can. Sideways aerials do help quite a bit, as I covered in my previous back wall defense tutorial. That was like almost 2 years ago. And so some of these high ones, you can actually jump onto the wall and get a power clear. Just another way of making maybe one of these tough ceiling reads a little easier for yourself. You can get a little creative. Alright, so there's a couple of these shots where it bounces off the ceiling and then off the back wall. It happens at the higher levels. People get those huge boom clears. You're gonna have to be able to save those. Yeah, I do like these late rotation type shots. They're a lot easier to save from a team perspective, and it does help to have a defensive scheme where you have someone doing those late rotations to help, rather than have someone coming out from net trying to make those saves, which is it's a far more difficult technique. But having said that, it's not that easy, and it's got to be meat and drink. You gotta have a really high success rate on those late rotation ones. Okay, so here's one where we're starting the net. That's decent. Yeah, I would count that. Now this is a pretty common double tap setup. So you have to attack it very quickly, and you have to simulate that. So if you can smush it against the wall just as it's getting its first bounce, you're doing a pretty good job. You want to deny that double tap. Here's some more back post rotation type ones. That wasn't that great. That's a really nice catch, and I can follow that one. So that one I actually did quite well. This one's very difficult. Couple bounces to incorporating the ceiling curve. I think I end up just having to try to react and read rather than pre-jump. It's just that difficult. That's another double tap style one where you just want to get up right around the crossbar and just block it. You don't have to get up super early. You just need to block the double tap. So some of these later ones, starting from 36 onwards, they're gonna put you in weird spots where you're mispositioned and you're gonna have to adjust and try to bail yourself out. So that was the first one where it kind of goes over your head. And if you're a good player, if you position well, that doesn't happen, but sometimes you can get surprised, you have a misread or something. Here's another ceiling curve one. Make sure you get that before it's the crossbar. Ooh, I wouldn't count that one. Here we go, another mispositioning one. There we go. That was really difficult. It's really disorienting. Sometimes you're gonna have to go off muscle memory, not actually what you see. And if you go what you see, you're just gonna get you're just gonna make mistakes. It's too disorienting. Another really difficult one. I'm actually really pleased with that. I do tend to have low success rates on those. That's what this practice is for. Stop those rebound passes to the weak side. One more from the net. Another from the ceiling curve. And I do recommend you get as high as possible to cut off those angles. And this one is a classic boom at the GC level. Especially the pros will do those, and you got to be able to defend them. Alright, so let's move on to turn and clears. Now, at the GC level, you'll probably come across 2 or 3 opportunities for this skill per game. So it's important you get it right and you help get behind the opponents like I do there, or you can use it to pass the teammate, both with the goal of transitioning to offense. It's a vital top level skill because you prevent having to catch it, making it miss it, and organizing for defense. So just like the Backwall defense pack, you're going to be using F5 settings. Alright, so this second one, pretty difficult. You're going to have to get the bounce on the curve. I've seen Violent Panda do this quite often. He's a master at that, doesn't phase him at all. So it's something we can try to imitate. Now, for some of these harder, more power slide intensive ones, experiment with the type of power slide you're using. Sometimes you want to tap the power slide, sometimes you want to, use brake through your power slide as well, and boost. So there are all these different combinations. I really do urge you to mess around with them, see what works best for each scenario. Yeah, I'm not happy with that, so I'm not going to count that one. I'm trying to get a good connection there, and that's reboundable. That's a pretty tough read in the end, but... Yeah, so if you are having some trouble with the aerial shot, I recommend you to go to my other tutorial that I did about last month on aerial and long shots. And it does go a little more in depth in how to get these really nice connections with the ball. Sometimes you're going to have to flip to create that depth to move into the ball. Ooh, that was a pretty weak one. I'm going to repeat that. That's much better. And do focus on getting a lot of height, because that's what tends to get over the opponents and disorganize them, and then you can set up for offense. That one, you're going to have to flip to get into position. Here's another one where I'm using a flip. goes really high. That's gonna relieve some pressure. Now this one I'm finding, I didn't have a lot of boost at the end of these, but it is possible to get a good hit. We'll see if I can get one. Even if you end with 0, if you get the turn right and you get the bounce, you can still get quite a bit of distance. Let's see if I can get a nice one here. There you go. I got a 12 at the end. Went over a pad. Sometimes you can get some pathing that helps you get that little bit extra boost. Another sidewall curve one. Setting up a pass for a teammate on many of these. Instant transition, get behind the opponent, even score. Or if not, you're making the opponents collapse by putting it on net. Now, one thing that's really key with these hits is that you're not hitting it into the wall, right? Because the opponents will expect you to hit it into the wall. They'll expect, for instance, on this play that I'll hit it right. So if you can get around the ball and hit it left, you can fool the opponent. Your teammates can come in, take the next ball, and you can transition offensively. So really go for that little extra bit of turn, that little extra bit of air roll, so you can hook this ball across. That's a perfect connection. Ending with 0, but still a really good one. Another really nice connection. And on some of these ones that drop in your own 18-yard box, you want to get these a little higher because the opponent's set up in the midfield and they try to block you from progressing. So the higher you get it, at the very worst, you're going to make them get an aerial where they're like pinching it on the ceiling or trying to stop it. They don't have a lot of control of those areas. So it uses more boost for the opponent, and you can use that to gain an advantage and try to transition offensively. Now here's one where reading the ceiling curve. That's where the backwall defense comes handy. Here I'm using power slide with brake and doing a tighter turn. A little reverse there to help me. Again, I'm just showing you one way to do these because I'm kind of trying to do these pretty briefly. But this is one kind of training you can really spend 10-15 minutes looking for that perfect connection, just like I did with my long shots tutorial. That's a really good connection. This is a very mechanically intensive skill. Flipping to create some depth, trying to get that nice and high. That'll do. That's a really poor connection. I'm going to do that again. Nice and high. And this is a classic Violent Panda shot. If you ever watch him, he does that quite often. And he does score. I've seen him score at LAN several times doing that move. Sometimes he even clear it into the ceiling and catch it on the down bounce. Another Violent Panda move. So I've actually calculated my success rate. I believe I got 39, give or take. Some of them are a little iffy, some of them weren't that quality. So that's 78%. So see if you can match that, again, in my description. So we're moving on to the third skill, wall power clears. Now this is a really common skill where you're doing it a few times a game. If it's not on the back wall, then you got multiple opportunities on the sidewall. It's a skill you really want to develop. And you can see here I get a massive clear. This helps us transition out of defense. Now we're on offense and shaping up to keep the opponent in. Now, one thing I do want to cover is power clears that are really low on the back wall. This back wall curve trips up a lot of players, like it did for me there. So that's something that's going to be heavily featured in the first 20 shots or so. Okay, so this time we're going to be using F11 settings. So it should be starting with 85 boost. So if you've mapped it correctly, just hit F11, should work. And you'll immediately notice, yeah, a lot of these are really low on the back wall, and you're actually going to have to boost through the curve. It uses a lot of boost, but that's what you need to do to get a really good hit. Here's a really disorienting one. That's not a really clean hit. I want to work on this. See if I can get a clean hit. Really boosting through that back wall curve, right? It's a lot steeper. You're gonna have to take that into account. Some of these getting around the ball and then curling up the wall, that curling up the corner is really difficult. You're gonna have to turn a lot. It's really deceptive, something you want to work on. Another low back wall. Power clear, bane of my existence. Some of these you're gonna have to jump off the wall a little bit to reach. This is one of my favorite techniques. It's just a single jump. You know, you're just pinching it basically on the power clear. And you can get really far and it doesn't hit the ceiling. It just kind of launches the whole field. Something I've noticed a lot is really good at. Not the cleanest, but it'll do. Right? I do like it when it doesn't hit the ceiling. It just kind of glides and grazes the ceiling. That's a pinch. If you have a more boxy car like the Octane, that's a little easier to do. Just let it pinch on the car, and then sometimes you can actually take it up onto the ceiling, do ceiling clear. So a lot of different techniques you can use. And I've mixed it up. I've thrown in some of these where you actually have to aerial off the wall. Some of these you can actually get around and flip it across to your teammate. And maybe hit it away from the opponents. Yeah, this one's really tough. You can see how I'm having to turn into the wall really aggressively. That one wasn't really controlled. This one's a lot better. So something you want to get a feel for. How much do you need to turn up the wall? Really turn into the corner there. That one wasn't controlled. That's kind of panicky. Let's see if I can get a higher quality hit. That one's much better. Massive clear. Alright. That's pro level, that one. That's something you want to try to replicate. And that one too. That was a little lower than I would have liked. Oh, one thing pros are very, very good at is setting up those self passes off the wall, getting those double taps, and that helps them transition. So at any level really in RLCS, you can watch that technique happen over and over and over again. Something you need if you're gonna ever dream of becoming an RLCS level player. Right now I'm not consistent enough with that. So some of these really slow. That means you need to slow down and then speed up the last moment to get the maximum amount of pace on the ball. So timing is crucial as well. Some ceiling curve ones that you got to learn how to deal with. Oh, this one, have to flip to get in position. Maybe you could double jump onto the wall and then get the power clear. You know, try these different ones. See how reliable they are, and maybe they'll be of use to you when you need it in a dire situation. So this is one where I'm trying to pass to myself, get that double tap, but be able to follow it up. And start transition on my own. Another self pass to the double tap. Pretty tricky one. A nice pinch clear. This one comes off quite a bit from the wall, so you're gonna have to jump off a little early, compensate for that. And over time, your read will get better. And just begin to understand how the curve really affects the trajectory of the ball. So that's 50. So I actually graded myself. I got a 37, so a 74%. So over the 3 trainings, I got 37 on backwall defense, 39 on turning clears, and 37 wall power clears. So have a little fun with that. Try to beat my scores, and let me know what you guys think of my mega pack. I know there's a lot of value in here, and I'm sure it'll improve you guys quite a bit. So let's get to practicing, and best of luck. Thanks for watching, guys.